Hi everyone, my name is Gurpinja Gitu and I am your Women's Representative at Douglas Students Union.
And my name is Melissa Chirino. I'm the Director of Campus Life at Douglas Union. And welcome to our Provincial election Q&A leading up to the October 24th election.
We are meeting candidates from different parties in Westminster and Coquitlam-Burke Mountain electoral districts, asking them questions to get to know them better, where they stand on issues that are most important to Douglas students, all to help inform your vote.
Today we are with Bremner Akins from the BC Green Party, running in the Coquitlam-Burke Mountain district riding. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right. So something on all students' minds is school and how they are going to pay for it, as post-secondary education is becoming more and more expensive. How will you and your party make post-secondary education more affordable and more accessible for all students?
Yeah, post-secondary education is becoming more and more expensive, not to mention the associated costs of housing, car insurance, transit costs, whatever you need to do to get back and forth from campus. We're lucky it's online right now, but it's going to eventually go back to being in person, and just the rising costs of everything else. So I'm proud to say that the BC Greens do fully support accessible and affordable post-secondary education. And I am actually a post-secondary student myself, so I understand the cost crunch. Especially where we live, it's insane. Our prices for housing and just to sort of be near campus it's too expensive for us to afford, frankly. So whether elected or not, I will personally continue to fight for free post-secondary education so that all students have access, regardless of where you come from within our income brackets. No cost access to public transportation, so that if you can't afford a car, you're still able to get to your campus, and so those costs are passed on to you. And to invest in more low-income housing projects, either be rental or if you're moving on further in life, buying, just so that students can afford to live near their campus and have easy access to and from. And also to have that located near where you work, so you're able to sustain yourself while you're, not so you don't have a 2-hour commute back and forth from work to campus.
Thank you.
On to the next question. Young people have particular concerns about housing. Many are having a hard time finding affordable places to rent. Many believe that they will never be able to afford buying their own homes after they finish their studies and enter workspace, or ever. What will you do to make housing more affordable for young people and their families during their education and after they graduate?
Yeah, I think it's really important that young people have access to housing. But I don't think we've seen that commitment yet. All of us know how expensive it is to either rent, or if you can even afford it, which nobody can at this rate. I've had the same thoughts myself, is that I don't think I'll be able to buy even after I get a job and finish my degree, or I can barely afford. I can't afford to rent right now, frankly. But if once I get a bit of a higher paying job, maybe I could afford to rent. But at $1,000 a month, just a flat out rental fee, which was sort of a cost of maybe that 1-bedroom apartment around where we live, is just not affordable. And I think we need to change this. And so I believe in affordable housing. Like I've said before, I think we need to invest in low-income housing. I think we need to begin a discussion with experts on how to drop our housing prices. It's going to be quite a complex process. If it was easier, we would have done it right. I would hope, at least. But I think what we need to do is just begin to put government money into low-income housing projects so young families and students can have more affordable housing.
Thank you.
All right, next question. So the pandemic has changed many aspects of our lives. As the world moves forward towards developing a vaccine and creating long-term recovery plans, how will your recovery plan meet the needs of current students and recent graduates, especially those looking for meaningful employment and work?
Yeah, so I'm a huge proponent of a green economic recovery. And what that means to me, and what I would fight for, is a recovery that doesn't leave anybody out, and that allows us to make sure we don't fall back into our old habits. So this means investing in green jobs, investing in low-cost housing, emissions-free production, so that recent graduates have an opportunity to take what they've learned and go into a field that will benefit not only themselves, but the economy, and allow us to continue our work towards lowering our greenhouse gas emissions. Obviously, especially with this economic recovery, it's going to be a long process. It's not going to happen within a year. And I think students and young families are going to be hit by far the hardest. because we have the most to lose. And so my biggest goal would just be able to make those jobs available and to give people the ability to live in their communities and work in their communities.
Thank you.
Next question. An important topic that is at the forefront of many students' minds these days, including students, is the environment and creating long-term systems to protect our world for the future. What are the first steps you will take to tackle climate change?
Yeah, important topic. So obviously the Greens, I think, is what we're most well known for is climate activism. I think one of the first steps we need to do is ban LNG and fracking immediately and stop all fossil fuel subsidies. We are essentially paying for our own extinction. I think that's ridiculous, and it just needs to stop. We have seen increases of over 70% with the recent governments into these industries, them trying to greenwash it and say, oh, LNG is eco-friendly. It's not. It's a fossil fuel. It's adding to our GHG emissions. It's destroying our environment. It's causing earthquakes up north, destroying people's home and property. It'll only get worse. So aside from banning those fossil fuels, I think immediately we need to have a plan to start dropping our emissions by either 10 to 15% year over year. And it would be tough. We would have to mobilize our entire economy in BC, but that's what we're left with. We didn't act in the past, and now we're either left with act now and do it all at once, or do nothing. And so that's part of my goal. Obviously, sustainable forestry is another huge one. We have to stop our reliance on plastic products, and because those do come from oil, but we can't be destroying our old growth forests. So what we need to do is make our forests sustainable so that we can harvest and use the material, but not destroy the environment while we are doing it. And taking steps like that, higher subsidies for electric cars, for electric bikes, electric scooters, and start raising taxes like a carbon tax so that we're forcing our economy to move away from those carbon intensive fuels.
Thank you.
All right, bonus question. Students at Douglas live in many different regions throughout the Lower Mainland, regularly traveling to and from campus for their studies, sometimes being forced to look for housing further and further away because of rising cost. What measures will you implement to address transportation challenges faced by students, such as high insurance costs for young people and increased access to transit beyond the immediate Greater Vancouver area?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's important that we take a look at ICBC and the fact that for us younger people, our insurance just keeps going up and up and up, and it's not affordable anymore. I think we also need to begin to invest more in our public transit. And like I previously said, I believe we need to make transit a no-cost access for everybody, because that will allow people who have a lower ability to pay for either transportation or for school or for housing. It'll allow them to save costs where it's necessary. And I think we need to begin to expand our transit system. It only goes out to about Douglas right now with the SkyTrain, and not everybody lives there. We have people who live either in Port Coquitlam who only have access to buses before they can get there, or people who live, say, in Surrey or Maple Ridge who want to come and get an education, maybe in our Tri-Cities, but they can't get there easily enough. And so what we need to do is begin to address these transit issues and expand our funding for them and create, and this is part of a green economic recovery in my view, is that we begin to create more jobs in our transit industry, and we begin to rely more on transit and less on private vehicles.
Thank you so much for that. That's all the time we have for our Q&A today. Thank you, Adam, for joining us from the BC Queen Party in the Coquitlam-Burke Mountain riding, and for finding the time to chat with us. We really appreciate this. We want to bring this to all of our students. Yeah, good luck on the campaigning and on the election day. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been fun.
Make sure you sign the pledge at www.takeitover.ca.